the UFC, which you had a great amount of success with UFC, being a UFC Hall of Famer, former champion, fought with some of the greats in this sport, and beat some of the greats in this sport. But with this being more of a wrestling type show, I do have to ask you a question that was sent in to us by a fan, which doesn't want me to name who they are, but anyway. They want to know if you feel like you were not used properly or used to the best possible way with WWE.
Well, there's no question in my mind, because especially since I felt like I did everything that they asked me to do. Rookie of the Year, King of the Ring, Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion. I mean, a lot of stuff that matches that no one ever did before. I did a straight jack match. I did actually submitted somebody by being restrained, which has never been done. I mean, I did a lot of things that no one ever did before. We created a ring for me, just so we could do a Lion's Den match, this cage match. We did the Iron Circle with cars with Steve Blackman, and there was just so many things that I was able to come out and be able to bring into pro wrestling. And then you see the wrestling before Ken Shamrock and wrestling after Ken Shamrock, and all the submission holds that are there now,
right,
because of me being in the ring and being able to show people that these submission holds can work in pro wrestling. And once the door was open, I mean, people got creative. These guys got creative with doing all these different submission holds. And so it really did open that door for a lot of creativity. And I thought, like, wow, this is definitely a great opportunity for me to be able to move my way up and go after The Rock for the championship match with the World Wrestling Championship. And it just never happened. We could go and explain a million reasons why it didn't happen. Everybody has their opinion on why it happened. I have my opinion why it happened. But the bottom line is that it's never talked about. It's almost like it never existed and it never happened.
Right. No, I mean, we can't ask Dave Mooch any of these questions because, as we like to call him in jest, that he's the WWE historian who knows nothing about wrestling.
That's a great sentence.
You know that we're all about money. That's all we're focused on, right?
It's got. Hey, it has to make sense. Like dollar cents.
So anytime we have a question, we call him after we find out the answer.
Yeah, right.
Listen,
right.
I know that Ken's the godfather of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And the only championship that he has not won, which he would like to, was the WWE Championship, the heavyweight.
Okay.
Not the Intercontinental, of course, he won that, etc. We know that.
Yep.
Is that right, Ken?
That's right.
All right. So
I really want to have the opportunity to be able to go in and be able to get at least what I believe should have happened back then, whatever reasons it didn't. But for me to be able to at least, because I did everything else and broke records. Everybody loved it. The matches were awesome. People talk about these matches, and yet I wasn't given the opportunity to go up and chase that belt.
And that was kind of my next question. You celebrate. You just happy birthday, by the way. You just celebrated your 54th birthday.
Thank you.
Now you at 54, and then you got a guy like Kane, who in a month and a half turns 51. Now we've seen him, fighting for the Universal Championship, taking on Lesnar, taking on Braun Strowman, things like that. So do you think at 54 years old, only 3 years older than Kane, that you can compete at a high level and be respected as a guy that could come in and actually win the WWE title?
There's nobody in pro wrestling right now that can go with me.
I love
conditioning from bell to bell. I'm in great shape. That's what I pride myself on, is being in great shape. When I work out, I don't lift 400 pounds and show people how strong I am. I put on 315 pounds and I bench it 20 times
right,
for 4 reps. So it's like that's how I worked out. And so when people are talking about the reasons why Ken Champ's on me because he's 54 years old, I think to myself, they don't know me. They don't know who I am.
Right.
Because if they did, they know the age that they're putting out as 54 is absolutely no bearing on what my performance and what my abilities are.
No, I agree with you. I remember seeing the reports out there that you said on someone else's show that you were interested and you would hope that they would call you and get a shot to come back, and I saw a lot of the feedback on that where people were kind of calling. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what they were calling anybody, but like they just didn't understand that you can compete at a high level. I mean, I wouldn't call what Kane is doing right now high level. I mean, he's nearly 7 feet tall. He kind of lumbers around the ring. He's strong. We all know that. But you're more of the total athlete.
Yes, and that's something I think that reason why I try not to push it so much is because there are the fans out there that look at things as they are and they realize, like, why not? I mean, why not? I mean, if you're looking at everything else that's going on, why would you not use Ken Shamrock? And that's the ones that are the level-headed ones, the ones that are looking at it not on my side or anybody's side, but looking at it just as a person going, can he or can he not? Well, yeah. I mean, you look at all the other guys who've gone in there. You look at Ken Shamrock. Absolutely, for sure. Why not? Then you got the ones that just don't care. They just like hurting people. They just want to say things because they have an opportunity, and no one's going to hold them accountable to it. So they'll say whatever's on their mind, even if it makes no sense at all, just to hurt somebody because they can.
Okay, now we're closing out February of 2018. WrestleMania right around the corner. Is the window of opportunity with you returning to WWE, even for a short amount of time, is that window closing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's closing all the time because it's not that I can't go and compete. It's not that as time goes on that I'm still not going to be in great shape and going to be able to do that. But I think that as the longer that they wait and the longer that they keep not taking advantage of the opportunities they have to be able to blow the numbers up with myself and Rock or with myself and Goldberg or Brock Lesnar or Kurt Angle, the opportunity is there. They want to build this thing up and get it popping again. It's there. Whether or not they're smart enough to realize the opportunity's there, that's the question. But if they wait and keep waiting, people are going to lose interest anyways, period, because unless you're on TV, unless you're out there doing something all the time, it's more and more difficult each time. And so if they're not interested in making money, which that makes completely no sense to me, because I just don't see how they can't see this as a money maker. I mean, as you don't see, people wouldn't go off the friggin' bonkers to see me and Rock go at it, or me and Brock Lesnar go at it, or me and Kurt Angle go at it. I mean, it just makes no sense to me because everybody that I've ever even mentioned it to, a lot of the people that are involved in the actual pro wrestling and really have their finger on the button, all say the same thing. That would be a great match. People would love to see that happen, whether they hate you or love you.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing you tangle with Brock Lesnar. I mean, while he's still interested.
Right.
Okay, let's say scenario is we get to the end of the year, Ken Shamrock doesn't get the call to come back. In your opinion, is Ken Shamrock a WWE Hall of Famer right now?
Well, listen, I mean, obviously I'm going to say yes, but just think about this. When you look at a Hall of Famer, the one thing, some of the and I don't know all of them, but I know some of the glaring factors are this. Did that person achieve a high success level? Okay, so that box would be checked off. Did the person change the game? Change whatever position they played, whatever sport they played? Did they change the game? So when you look at pro wrestling, you think, okay, Ken Shamrock before and Ken Shamrock, did I change the game? And the answer would be absolutely yes. Why? Well, one, anytime anybody goes in and uses a hold that you did and they call it theirs, basically when somebody copies you, that's an honor. That means that you've done something for people to recognize as you wanting being one of the best, or one of the holds being the best. And that same person that copied it is also got an opportunity to be a Hall of Famer, and not just a Hall of Famer, but an Olympian medalist who takes that move and calls it his own. So when you look at the factors and whether or not Ken Shamrock belongs in the Hall of Fame, I think if you look at all the boxes that need to be checked, they are checked.
Okay. It's fair enough. I can't argue that point. I mean, you had Kurt Angle that adopted that move as well as Jack Swagger. So Jack maybe didn't get the run that maybe some people would have thought he would, but whatever the case may be, the move was used, and you're recognized as the guy who pretty much. You made it popular. I don't know if you adopted it from someone else, but you made the ankle lock submission hold popular.
Well, I'll tell you this: nobody was doing any of those moves until I got into pro wrestling. I did the armbar, from the choke slam into an armbar with Undertaker. I did hip tosses and leapfrogs and all those things into leg locks and knee bars. And all those things that weren't happening before Ken Shamrock, because of the moves that I brought in, are being used now.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Kev,
go ahead.
Kev, what do you think of this? Ken Shamrock, Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Ronda.
That would
WWE now.
I think it's awesome. I do. Again, like I said, the thing about pro wrestling, and I think most people fail to realize, is that it's not just going in there and learning a few moves and going out there and having a match. There's a whole lot to it. And that's the reason why you don't have people being able to cross over and be successful in pro wrestling. It's not easy. And so that's why when you see somebody that does it and they do it at a very high level, you got to give them credit, because it's not like they started out as a career and did it for 15 years and then all of a sudden they made it to the top. Guys that crossed over, they haven't done it for years. And then all of a sudden they're put at the top and go, okay, now we're going to teach you something completely different than what you're used to. So there's definitely, you've got to give credit when you see somebody able to come from another sport and be able to adapt to it so easily.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. What's some advice that if Ronda Rousey called you tomorrow and said, I need some advice to know what I'm getting myself into, what kind of advice would you give her?
I would say, first of all, that pro wrestling is not about how tough you are. It's not about where you came from and or even how you got there. Really, it's just about you making sure that you opening your ears, close your mouth, open your eyes, and just be a sponge, because you're never going to be successful unless the people around you will give you that opportunity.
Okay. That's really good advice, and it's pretty much good advice for anybody that's learning anything.
Right.
Would you advise that to CM Punk as you speak?
What's that?
Would you advise that to CM Punk after that first UFC fight that he had? Now he's going to fight again?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed that people gave him such a hard time. It's not like that the guy has a background and a very good background at wrestling when it comes to amateur stuff. He doesn't have the submission background. And so this guy wanted to do something because he did pro wrestling, was very successful at it. Nothing's changed, right? This guy is still that same person.
Right.
All he's now doing is changing and going into a different event. And now, just like you take any fighter, Tito's tried it. I don't know how many people have tried to go into pro wrestling and they fell on their face. Mm-hmm. They can't do it. Okay? So why is it when CM Punk goes from pro wrestling into the real fight and he falls on his face, all of a sudden he's not good anymore? It doesn't make sense to me. He's still the same great pro wrestler he was before he went into another sport. Just like a fighter that goes into pro wrestling and he falls on his face in pro wrestling, he's still the same fighter he was when he was in MMA. So what are you going to do? Going, oh yeah, you suck at pro wrestling, so now you suck at MMA, even though you were great at it before. So that's what I want people to start realizing, is that stop judging somebody on trying to do something that he hasn't been used to